Hello everyone, it's Helen at Journaling Planet, and today I'm going to be doing some grid journaling with some project scraps from my Palentine's cards. If you didn't see those, I made some postcards earlier in the week and I will explain in that video what Palentine's is. If you're not sure and didn't catch it, go and check that out. But I'm going to be just working with the project scraps. I mean, mostly. I might add a few more things in, we'll see. Just mostly working with those from that project. And grid journaling is something that probably most of you know about, but it was new to me when I saw Marguerite Miller post about it earlier in the month. So essentially, for those of you who don't know, you draw 4 squares on the page, or as many squares as you want, actually. I think some people draw 6 or 8 or 12. I drew around a set of post-it notes to create the grid, which is what Marguerite Miller suggested. I've already screwed it up because I went too far down with my pen. This is a regular occurrence that I screw something up in the very first stage of a project, but I'm going to show you how it doesn't really matter. I found this process of grid journaling really therapeutic after being ill. I will do a full flip through of this journal at some point, but for now I just want to focus on getting these project scraps used up and talk you through the process that I've started using. I'm sure, since I've only just come to this, that my process will change over time, but it's interesting to have several different ways into a particular type of project. What really works for me about this format is the space is so small. It just feels very unintimidating. So I just never need to worry about what I'm doing. It's so small. It can be completely abstract. It doesn't have to make any sense. It's very relaxing. So what I tend to do, or what I have been doing, I should say, I've only done a few of these, is I've used the same piece of paper as a base in all 4 of the squares. So in this particular instance, I had these bits left over from my project, and that's what's going to tie the whole page together. What I am trying to do, though, when I'm placing these down, so there is a bit of variation, is I'm trying to find different ways to orient the paper. So in this one, the base of the heart is facing that way. In this one, it's facing that way. This one, it's facing that way. And this I've done diagonally across the square. I do think, for me, it's nice to have variation from square to square. I don't want to create 4 identical squares, but I do want them to tie together. So I'm just going to start by gluing down these scraps. Now this is the only bit that I'm going to glue down before I get everything else arranged. It's actually a little bit of a risky move because it may be that I want to move this half a centimetre to the left. Well, now I can't, too late. But I find actually committing to something straight away forces me to make some creative decisions around that initial decision that I've made. So it's no longer a blank piece. So it's no longer a blank piece of paper where I can move anything around. I've got something down. I do have to work around that. Now, I'm going to just stamp along the white spaces. They may get covered, these white spaces, by different things. But just to be on the safe side, to make sure there's no white space showing, I am going to stamp over it, and I'm going to do it really haphazard. I don't care if I go outside the grid. Or over the paper, that's fine. I just want to get some pattern down, and then whatever happens, if it gets covered up, it's just another layer, it's fine. Okay, the beauty of this is that I do not have to be precise. I don't have to worry about going outside the grid. It's all fine, whatever happens. So next thing that I did is I went through the things that I had remaining in my stash, and I tried to find things that I thought would look interesting in the grid pattern. Little scraps from the projects that I'd done, from abstract cutout shapes, scraps, and some fussy cuts that I had left over. And what I'm going to do is walk you through the process of arranging one of these, and then I'm going to speed up doing the remainder of them. So I've only got a few pieces. This is a piece of fussy cut. You can't really see the paper that well because it's quite pale, but it has got a sort of rose pattern on it. And that's where I'd cut out a heart. I've got a piece of lace that was left over and this dog. Now, I do also have this little square scrap. Again, you can't really see it very well, but it's kind of pink gingham. But I don't really know if I'm going to need that. I think actually, perhaps a little bit of rearranging, but I quite like the way this has just fallen together. And you'll notice I've got 3 elements. And I did mention in my last video that actually having 3 elements or 5 elements or an odd number of elements is an advisable thing when you're doing collage. So I'm going to stick these down because I like the way in which I've arranged them, the 3 items, but I'm really feeling like this piece of paper just does not stand out as much as it needs to because it's very pale. So I think what I'm also going to do in the process of gluing it down is I'm going to go around the inside and the outside with a marker to make it stand out more as an abstract shape. Okay, let me speed this bit up and get it glued down. Okay, it looked fine, but I wasn't quite happy with it. So I originally went around this with pink to blend. That was a mistake. So I went over it in metallic green for contrast, and that looked better. And I decided that I did want something else on this lace for height. So I added another button. So I'm going to do the same process with the other 3 grids. I'm going to have my green metallic pen and some green buttons handy because I would like to tie it all together with those little pieces, but each grid is going to have slightly different elements and fussy cuts that were left over from the project. So let's see how I get on and I'll show you what I've done at the end. Okay, I'm pretty pleased with how this has turned out. I think, from a few scraps from a project, a little bit of stamping and some marking, it's a really interesting page. I love the 3D effect of the buttons. I love the cuteness of the fussy cuts that were left over. And it was so relaxing to make it. And I've feel like I'm going to fill this journal quite quickly because it's just not that intimidating a task. One thing I will flag is that I am essentially leaving a page between each project, like a double spread, in case I do want to. I mean, it wouldn't be as easy with these ones. Maybe this one I could cut out in case I want to cut out a grid and use it in one of my journals. I haven't done that yet because I just want to finish the journal first, and then I'll decide if I want to use any of the grids as ephemera or keep it as a journal untouched, uncut up. But the process is really, really fun. It's really easy, as you can see. Some really interesting abstract work just from a few scraps and a few leftover fussy cuts. So I hope this has been interesting for you. Do you already do grid journaling? I mean, I'm probably way behind the times here, but I'm really, really enjoying it. And it's very therapeutic. I can, relate to those of you who haven't tried it yet. And you can sort of do it in any old notebook. You don't need a special, I wouldn't say, you wouldn't need a special journal for doing it in. Unless you're using very heavy markers, you're probably going to be okay. So let me know in the comments, are you already doing this? How do you approach it? What do you do that's different to my approach? I'd love to hear about it. I hope this has been fun. It's certainly been fun for me. Look at the cute little kitten. Well, whilst we're on, look at the cute little doggy. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.